All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Glacier Gamble podcast. Another week, another episode. Last week, I totally spaced. That's on me. That's why we didn't get a part one of Arcane. But this time, we're going to do a part one, part two discussion about Arcane. Next week is going to be final part three discussion, finale overall. What's the future going to be? But right now, it's going to be the focus on what we've seen so far in Acts 1 and 2, probably with a heavier focus on 2 since that's more recent. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. For those of you who maybe are new, since this is a more recent topic and more like different than what we normally do, we don't often talk about Marvel, DC. We're going to be big about DCU, especially with the new revamp James Gunn. So make sure you check that out. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about Arcane, The Boys. Right now, talking about Arcane. So while you're here, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. And thank you so much for stopping by. All right. So, I'm just gonna start.
You can't see this, but we got a guest appearance here.
Ooh, Hambo?
No,
Lucy?
it's the girl. It's the girl. Hi, honey. Say hi.
I had to keep Alex out because he won't leave me alone, my boy.
Usually they don't. Yeah, usually they don't come in here. Else Hambo will chill kind of right down here, but I usually can push him away. But Lucy really wanted to come up. She wanted to say hi to everyone. So,
hi, Lucy. All right. Well, everybody say hi to Lucy.
Now. She's gone now, but she was on. So I continue, yeah.
I will focusing throw out right away
on the act.
Yeah, I tweeted it out. Go ahead, follow us on Twitter. Tweeted it out. This is not just one of the best streaming shows on Netflix, but one of the best entertainment creations, movie, show, whatever that I have ever seen. And I am extremely disappointed that this is going to be the finale. Is Act 3 is
of Arcane,
the series finale of Arcane.
Right. And they might, we've talked about this before, where they might rebrand and kind of do like name it something else and have it be a different story. I personally would have thought it would be cool to keep the Arcane name and maybe just focus on a different thing.
Yeah, I figured. I feel like it's just gonna be like whatever the next one is, like Sands of Shurima, Bilge Water, but and then it'll say
based on
the stories of Arcane or from the stories of Arcane. I feel like it'll be like Arcane, a subtitle, but they should have just kept it as a main title,
right?
But I feel like part of that is a marketing thing to avoid, when they do, because we've talked about this before, previous episodes, that if they tried to cover everything, I mean, League of Legends has 150 champs almost. Like,
right.
There's so much to cover with the Freljord, Shurima, the Shadow Isles, the Void. We got so
Demacia,
they could have eventually have 30 seasons. And I think it's to avoid something like Arcane Season 21 coming out.
Sure.
I feel like part of it is to avoid the idea of like, oh, I can't watch Season 5 of Arcane because I haven't seen the first 4 seasons, when watching Season 1 of Shurima, even though you still need to watch the previous ones to fully grasp everything, it's going to feel less overwhelming. I think it's just all going to be marketing. And then they can also, contract-wise, if they ever want to move away from Fortiche for whatever reason, or if they want to hire different voice actors, having the contract being for Arcane versus being for whatever project is probably
whatever the IP for the next thing is, right?
Yeah, so I feel like it's 100% future marketing is why that's going to be that way, because I don't feel like even after the Act 3, I don't feel like this is the last we'll see of all of these characters. It just doesn't feel like it'll be the last.
Sure.
Especially won't be the last time they're mentioned.
Right.
But going with that, these characters are incredible. Like the story writing, the animation, shout out again to Fortiche, but the story writing, the voice acting, and then of course the animation are like S tier. Every single one of them is some of the best. Like, I was just watching it on my phone not too long ago. And my wife goes, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm watching Arcane." And she was like, "That is beautiful." And I was like, "Tell me about it. It looks so good."
For sure.
And
I think they've just done a great job overall. And for the people that, like, you don't have to know anything about League of Legends or
No.
like the champions in general, but the people who do, like us nerds, like every little like hint, of something, like we're dissecting it and trying to figure out if someone else saw that same thing and if it means what we think or what they think or
Right.
vice versa. Like
if anything,
like
it might be better if you aren't familiar with it, because you might have different expectations as a fan of the game, especially if you're a previous fan of the lore. It might be better to have no background of it, so then you don't have expectations that aren't fully met.
Right. So at the end of season 1, they do like the tease at the very end, where there's like the big hulking figure atop Singed, and then they obviously tease that throughout so far this show. And I was watching it with a friend of mine, and I was like, I want to say what's gonna happen, and I want to like spoil it, but I was like, but I'm not gonna spoil like what the beast is, what the beast is, because I know from just the lore, like.
And they did switch the beast a bit from what they are in the game, like
right.
Definitely
and
don't look like they do in the game.
There might be a further evolution, you know what I mean,
especially what would happen at the end of Act 2.
Right. So there may be more to it, but like I know like the lore is exciting, and so like for me, like because we were so in depth with like Journals of Justice just to learn more about the world, and now we're doing that. So
I used to love reading the Journals of Justice.
Yeah, and then like even like just obviously if you're watching this, it's spoiler, but
here's your 2 seconds. 1, 2 spoilers.
Right, and like the how Revik was that his name? Revik. Revik. Singed.
Revik.
Yeah. So Dr. Revik, or Singed as we know him. Like he had that incubation pod type thing, and I was like his daughter. Like that's the first thing I said was like his daughter, and then you have the little locket that plays the ballerina thing.
Yep.
And I was like that his daughter's a ballerina, a dancer.
And like her profile photo, like her photo of her profile is the exact photo that they use in the game.
Right, and it's like the short blonde hair,
and it's a bun on top, which for those of you who are familiar with the game, that little girl in the game basically becomes a full hex tech robot called Oriana.
Right.
And
we're assuming probably loses her, I would imagine, and then creates her, maybe. I don't know.
So this is a perfect transition into what is probably after what happened in Act 2. I want to cover some things that I think a lot of people are talking about and what people want to talk about. So I think we will cover like Jinx and Vi, Warwick, all this stuff. But with Singed and Oriana, and just everyone, really everyone, they told us that we were going to see what happened with Heimerdinger and Echo, which they didn't show up in these 3 episodes.
Yeah, it was.
They were.
Was it in just the first act?
Yeah, they were sucked into the arcane, the wild rune that Jace was able to get out of.
Right.
And we never saw them again. And so what I'm thinking is, with everything that happened with Jace, like how different he looks, which that is going to be a skin in the game. I think Echo is now going to have the ability to rewind time as he does in the game. Like rewind short periods of time. Like he can't go super far back, just like the game. He gets 4 seconds in the game.
He did that with Jinx too, right? Didn't he do that with Jinx or no?
Well, he can't actually. I think the way they edited it with his little clock, because his clock couldn't actually reverse time. Sure. It was just the way they did the fight. I think he's going to be able to rewind time for a short period, which is going to. Their goal is to reverse what Jace has done, like revive Victor, which is going to, and then if you get right to before where Victor was killed, spoiler,
again,
that's also going to rewind just to before the point where Warwick was turned into what we will
savage,
savage Warwick.
Feral. Yeah.
And I think it's going to reveal. We're gonna get more further reveal of like other things that it's gonna reverse, but I feel like Echo is going to come back with Heimerdinger, and they're gonna say like, okay, well, we can reverse up to a certain point, bring all these people back. Maybe that's when Jana's gonna make her physical appearance. Who knows? But I do think Echo is going to be the one who comes in and saves the day.
And we know at some point Victor is going to be okay. Like,
because he has to become what he is in the game,
right? And he's not. He doesn't even have his hand. Like his.
Right. He said the thing.
Yeah.
A glorious evolution.
Yeah. I love the parallels of Jason and Victor so far. Like Victor was talking to him as Sallow, and was like, your mind is gone, or your mind is changed.
Yep.
Whereas like it's reverse of what Victor is. Like Victor's mind is stable, but his body is destroyed.
Whereas
and Jason's body,
in season 1, Victor was unstable.
Right. And it's like Victor knows what he needs to do, but his body is gone. Like his body is essentially all taken over by the Hex Core. Whereas Jace goes into the Arcane, and Jace's mind is gone, but his body's the same.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's just that's awesome. Like that's just that parallel of like they're the opposites, but they're the same, but they're the opposites.
I can't believe I glazed over this, by the way, but I also think so. It brings back Aisha as well when he reverses time.
Oh yeah,
that would be one of the things. Like I was like,
yeah.
But I glazed over it when I was like, I don't want people are going to be like, you forgot about the ending. Like, oh yeah, it'll bring me back too. But so I saw.
What do you think it's also going to bring back? I forgot his name. Riven. The Ambessas, yeah. Who looks so much like Udyr.
I thought it was Darius or Udyr.
Yeah,
I thought
it looks like Udyr with the beard, like just with like the runes and stuff he puts on his weapon.
And then the next set of TFT is into the Arcane, and Darius and Draven are both in it. And I was like,
they're heading back to Noxus, so.
And I saw some things about like some of the characters might be placeholders, so that when the final season is out and the set comes out, they're going to swap in who they're actually supposed to be. Like, because Victor's not in the set, Jana's not in the set.
Yeah. Well, Jana just seems like a god of like folklore, so I wonder if Jana actually will show up. But it looked like there was a freaking monument to her. So,
there was
like a giant,
a huge mural plus another section.
Right. Right. So I'm guessing it could just be like a folklore goddess that used to bless Zon, used to be part of Zon. So,
so there were some huge things that happened in Act 1 and 2 that people are already either upset about, excited about. You know, we talked about Echo and Heimerdinger not really getting their thing. One thing is people are saying Jace caused a bunch. So this is what you mentioned it. People are upset at Jace. I see you were talking about a parallel between Jace and Victor. Another parallel I see, we talk about Marvel a lot. Another parallel I see here is Jace and Star-Lord.
Oh, sure.
Jace
like with Thanos?
Yeah. Jace is getting blamed for some things that are like completely out of his control. And including killing Victor is not what caused Warwick to go crazy.
No.
That's why we see Singe standing amongst the rubble, and if you look into his shoulder, that thing that he was going to inject him with is inside of him. That's what all that stuff gushing out was
right.
Singe. Singe is the one that did that to him, not Jace.
Right.
So
as at some point killing Victor like caused all the hex. Well,
all the people
he killed all those people.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Victor's being was the only one holding them alive, were they really alive? I guess.
Right.
Like it was all the hex core.
It seems like quite a big trade-off where they were getting healed and all that, but they probably didn't understand that they were also becoming completely tied in.
Yeah, I think they were, and it was very cult-like, right?
Yeah. I mean, Jinx called it a cult.
Right. It was very cult-like, and I'm guessing it seemed like it was Victor that was the problem, but I believe it was just to be the hex core. The hex core doing that to them for Victor, because Victor's kind of like its host, I guess.
Right.
So
Especially because it seems to have melded and like taken over.
yeah, right.
One thing that I do think they showed, especially because Jinx stares at it, the dude from Noxus had some runes on his weapon that
Right.
absorbed the arcane magic. I
Right.
think that's going to take a huge play into the final act, is whatever, if those are specific runes that like have countered it. That's why the Black Rose is after Noxus, or if those runes are something that like leads us into what Noxus is playing. Like, why is Ambessa even here doing what she's doing? Because they haven't told us exactly. We know she's after.
They want the hex. They want the
tech.
hex tech weaponry, right? They want the weapons because it'll help them in whatever war.
Because they're scared.
They're
the
going
Black
into.
Rose is scared of hex tech, so
Right.
Ambessa thinks hex tech helps them beat.
And that's like an internal war, but I think they also want it on a grander scale.
For sure. Yeah.
Of like whether I don't know if they've done the Ionia war yet. I don't know if, I mean, obviously they're always feuding with Demacia, but maybe it's for the Ionian war, possibly. But just in general, they want power, like overall. And even Ambessa was like something along the lines of like, we'll take this godforsaken place, or something along those lines of like, if we can't. She's trying to manipulate it so that they can control the Hextech weaponry, which will then, if they can control the Hextech weaponry, they can control Piltover. So
right, and Noxus is all about domination,
right?
But yeah, so Jace getting a lot of hate when I think people need to stop and think like, hey, not only is he being like, the arcane orb is inside of his arm, like. It's clearly controlling him, similar to how it's inside.
Yeah, and it's got a little like rune on it too.
Yeah,
he's
that. But also, obviously he killed all those people. He killed Victor. Not great, just like Star-Lord. But
I mean, he killed Victor, but the death of the Hex Core killed those people. So It looks like Jace killed those people, but were they really living, or were they just a vessel for the Hex Core? Like
Warwick crying made me just extremely depressed. The last 10 minutes of the final episode, Act 2, like Warwick is crying because he's looking at Powder and Violet like, I'm gonna lose you again. He's like vomits, and then he's bawling his eyes out of this like what looks like lava.
Right.
It's super devastating, but we don't know what necessarily happened with him. The Singed said that Vander's blood was naturally, like, he naturally had extreme healing abilities, and so that's why he's able to.
Yeah, he never gave up.
It's like
he was very right.
Where
I mean, it's that never give up mentality. Vi has that too. Jinx has that too. Like.
And so that's why he's able to like survive as this beast. So we don't know if he survives that blast or not. Which at the end, Aisha has 3 of the orbs, the arcane orbs, and creates an explosion, which that scene was also extremely devastating, where she's remembering all the times with Jinx, which in her memories, I love that Jinx's eyes flicker between pink and blue.
Right. When she does the shimmer take control a little bit.
Well, it's all in Aisha's memory. So she's like basically remembering that she brought out the powder back in Jinx.
Right.
And then obviously does the pew at Jinx before she blows herself up.
Yeah.
Like little girl sacrifice. That was I was like tearing up, and I was like, oh my God.
That's what Jinx as Powder tried to do.
Yeah, she saw the exact same thing, just a rotating water wheel, as one of the book series I love to read refers to it as history is just a rotating water wheel. She tried to
help. Like Jinx as Powder tried to help, but it was devastatingly bad.
Yep. And I think we're about to see something similar, but Vi, they jumped on top of Jinx. First of all, held her back, but then blocked her from the blast. So we don't know if Vi's going to be injured.
Right.
I love that Vi did jump into stuff. It seems like their relationship seems to be blending. However, I think
Right.
Jinx is about to go on a rampage.
Go off the deep end again.
Yeah. Yeah, like the one person that brought her back is
Right.
gone.
Both of the people that brought her back.
So now Savika's gonna have to.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna be something, but yeah, that scene was extremely devastating. Oh God, and then like Singed obviously with his daughter. I don't care. Like Singed is doing all of the wrong things,
Yeah.
so it's like I don't necessarily need Oriana to survive here. It's just
I think that could ultimately be the payback of Jinx.
right. All right.
I think that could be the payback of Jinx, and Singed will get what's coming to him.
Right.
And it'll be pretty tragic and tough, but at the same time, it's like you did this too. Like you're definitely no saint yourself.
Yeah, dude.
So
Oh my God, it's such a good and like it's heavy, like a non-animated, a normal drama show. Like every episode ends with something heavy. I feel like every act so far has ended with how many loose ends are they going to leave open to try to tie up? Like I don't understand how they're going to tie up.
Do it in 3 episodes.
In 3 episodes, they have to tie up Echo and Heimerdinger. Jason Victor, especially because they're labeling it as a
Mel
series
and the
finale.
Black Rose.
Mel and the Black Rose. YM Bess is there, plus like Noxus. Getting Piltover back to where it is. Getting Zahn back to where it's supposed to be. Jinx and Vi's story. Warwick. They have all of these like open ends where it's like, how are I mean, even like the little things like Maddie. What are they going to do with Maddie now?
Yeah.
It's, there's so many loose ends that either these last 3 episodes are all going to be long. Like these all so far, they've all been like 40 minutes. I feel like unless they're all like an hour plus, I still, even if they were, I don't know if they are able to satisfactorily
and they should leave some, assuming this form of media is going to continue, whether it's Arcane or whether it's Noxus or whatever the hell it is.
Right.
You can leave loose ends, especially if this form of media is going to continue in another series or possibly. You can leave some, like that is possible, and you shouldn't necessarily conclude everything. I don't think.
No,
but all the ones that you said, like. I mean, I was surprised we didn't get any Mel and the Black Rose kind of towards the end.
Right. Or Echo Heimer, like completely left out.
Right. So
I can't believe it. Like there's so much, and like because we didn't get any of those, we have their whole story to get through.
Right.
Like what happened to Heimer and Echo in the rune, as well as what's going to happen when they get out.
Do you think it also just hyper intellectizes Heimer? Because he was trying to figure out the turrets, right? Like he gave like a model of the turrets. Do you think he's gonna like be that inventor again?
I think he comes out similar to the game where he can build the turrets. He'll have a giant
super bomb,
super grenade he can throw, maybe some like hex rockets he can shoot out.
Right.
And then obviously he'll have like a gigantic turret he can create at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll have a turret that he lays down, puts an arcane piece in it, and it grows.
Yeah, so I think that would be sick to see too. I think that's the easiest thing to show is like so
God, so
for sure.
And they're called hex rockets, so we know they're
hex tech based.
They're hex tech based, so that's gonna come to play.
Right.
There's so much that they have to cover. It's been so good.
I want to know more about Noxus, man, and the Black Rose. I want the Black Rose, man. Like, you know how they said that Ambessa had like a bastard child?
Yeah,
I've seen things that are like, I don't know if they said if it was a daughter or not.
The last comment that they get from clearly the voice of LeBlanc, was that it was because they called the voice called Mel the sister.
Right.
I think Mel is the daughter.
You think Mel's the bastard?
I think Mel's the best. That's kind of why Ambessa treats her the way she does, as well as I think that's why
And
she
what's
has
the
those,
other
why
one?
she
Like,
understood what to do
yeah,
in that room. I think
sure.
that's what's
Because
going
I've
on.
seen things that are like maybe LeBlanc's the bastard.
Okay, yeah, that could be it too. Maybe
Sure,
that would make sense why she calls her sister, is that
sure,
she's the bastard is LeBlanc.
sure.
Which would also be awesome. Like you said, I want to know the Black Rose. Like I want to know not just like the Black Rose, but I want to know the future. Like the Black Rose is not just LeBlanc.
Right, Camille, I think, Elise.
Right.
Like
Like there's
there's a couple.
I think
Yeah,
technically once Morgana falls.
Vladimir's the god, I believe, that they all worship or whatever.
Yeah,
So
and if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken, Morgana is a like not a member, but a ally of the Black Rose.
sure.
Which, if you're going to bring in Morgana, then you have Kale. Now and Vladimir. So now you do have the gods involved.
Yeah,
Ugh, so
yeah,
like they have so much to go in that direction. I want to see where that's going. I need to see a bunch of LeBlanc, and I don't
yeah.
want to get one episode of LeBlanc, but that seems
Right,
like what we're gonna
yeah,
get. So
right.
it's like now I kind of want to talk about this, like the future. Where is the show gonna go? We can have predictions now. Obviously, we'll have more to talk about after the final act, but like, are they gonna move forward with
See,
magic and the Black
how do you
Rose,
go to
Ionia?
Noxus? How do you, yeah, as I'm saying, Ionia. You can go to Noxus, right? But then like the protagonist has to be like Ionia. And like I feel like it has to be Ionia because Ionia has more complex characters than say Demacia does.
Yeah,
Like you've got obviously like Garen and Lux and Jarvan, but they're all like very proper.
Yasuo.
And yeah, and then you go to Ionia, you got the ninjas. Um like you've got Master Yi, you've got Vistians,
You can
like
keep the consistency in Ionia with having the one
Aurelia,
Yordle thing and have just Kennen.
right? Yeah, so like you've got all those. There's so many Ionians that are just badass. You've got Aurelia, you've got Zelos, you've got
God, Zelos would feed families. Zelos and Master Yi and Wukong.
oh, dude, just Master Yi, like
It
Noxus showing up, and there's just one man.
like how many? I wish I could articulate better how many branches my mind explodes into when I think of where you could go with this show,
Oh
especially
God, I know.
like just nerdgasming. I'm sorry to those who don't play the game or aren't familiar with the other characters. The sheer volume of content of this level would be better than anything in the MCU that has ever been created. Like if they keep this level of content that Fortiche has animated, that Riot has created, the music, the voice act, I mean, like Haley Steinfeld, Ella Purnell, Harry Lloyd are just fucking killing it.
Yeah,
If they keep all of this level of content going, and then you create Shadow Isles, Shurima, Freljord, Ionia, Demacia,
right.
it would be. I would watch all of that over. If you told me I could watch, if I could guarantee they're gonna make all of that,
Oh yeah,
I would never. If you said you just can never watch another MCU project ever again or in the future, I would sacrifice future MCU products for this.
sure. Yeah,
I
I
love
want to
this.
see the. I want to see the. I just want Noxus to roll up on Ionia, and it's just Master Yi standing there, and they're like, we're gonna take you over, and Master Yi's like, that's not happening, and then
Right.
you just see him do what he did, and what we'll watch why Wuju got banned from combat from wars, and he murdered thousands by himself.
Yeah, I think it would be fun to watch him do that and then have a second fight in like a later part of the season where a similar
Wukong's
thing is
there,
happening and Wukong shows up.
right? Yeah, just him and Wukong. Well, yeah, because you got the Vistians. So like, if you're in Ionia, you got the Vistians. You've got
I also need like
Zaya and Rakan.
if you're
You've
going
got
for
those
brutal
too.
fights as well, you got fucking Jax to show up. Jax with a weapon,
Yeah, Jackson with his
Jax
weapon.
without a
Yeah,
lamppost would, oh my god. Or like obviously people are loving the horror just like part of Warwick and stuff. A Fiddlesticks series,
Oh yeah, the just
Nocturne.
the demons. Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
would. And
Well,
I
here's the
also
thing. If you go to the Black Rose, this is where you said like Elise, for instance. Like Elise goes to the Shadow Isles to find like and then gets like cursed by the spider god. And so like she's your introduction to the Shadow Isles, but you have to get through the Black Rose story first to like understand where Elise is going. But like you can't like it's tough to go to Demacia and have one of them be the protagonist because they all suck. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You can't go to Noxus and be like Poppy, but Poppy doesn't go to Noxus. Like there's not a lot of Noxians that are good. So
Jarvan
Riven
probably.
stuck there, I think. That's Demacian, you know what I mean?
Oh,
So
I thought you
like
meant
and like
Demacia.
at what point are we at too? Like do we get to see Scion kill Jarvan the third? Like I don't know.
Or
I don't know
are
if
we
we get
starting
that.
with
Like
Jarvan the fourth?
right. So I
Because
don't know that.
we got like Powder and Vi as kids. We got like
Yeah.
their pre-story. So I feel like we got Echo as like a young boy. I think we
Right.
should get Jarvan the third killing Scion. Like I think we should
Scion
get
killing
Swain before
Yeah, right.
he decides to
Yeah,
corrupt.
and then if you get Swain, you get the demons.
Yeah.
Like if you get Swain, you get the demons, and then there's your introduction to the demons, right? So
like this is what
you
I
got
mean.
Fiddlesticks and Tom Kench. Fiddlesticks, Tom Kench, Nocturne, Evelyn. You've got all those demons, and then it's like, or Neela, I believe too.
Yeah.
And so like
Neela, Nami,
you've got all
Tom
those.
Kench are all like from the same.
Right. And so like you've got those demons, and then if you got Tom Kench, you've got Bilgewater. Like it just everything leads.
The Darken.
Yeah, you haven't touched that yet.
You haven't even talked Darken, which are like even people outside of League of Legends. I remember the Aatrox when it was Aatrox versus Morgana and Kayle. That cinematic came out. There were people in the comments of that cinematic talking about how that they have no idea what League of Legends is, but this the big winged guy is badass. Like, no, that's Aatrox. He's a Darkin. There's 5 Darkin, and all the Darkin have like the coolest backstories, and they're badass and super cool.
Right.
And Varus needs
and then
to
the
be in my life.
Pantheon on like Mount Targon, I believe, was the one who hurt Aatrox. So
yeah.
So some man with a spear is the one that damaged Aatrox, which is crazy.
I could go on that forever, but like, I think Echo's gonna come and do reverse time back on like Arcane. I think Vi and Jinx, like Jinx gonna go off the deep end. Vi's gonna have to like work with Caitlyn again, like those two back together. Jinx is gonna go rogue and be by herself. They've kind of made it a thing where like Vi and Jinx are reconnecting, so maybe they work together. But I feel like Jinx is gonna go rogue again, and then it's gonna be Vi and Caitlyn.
Sure.
And I think Warwick's gonna go full wolf by the end of it, and I think Vander's not gonna be saved.
Right. I think Vander's gonna be lost, and Warwick will take over.
I think Victor's gonna come back and become the dark evil Victor that
is like he's gonna get his arm and build his suit.
And then I think they're gonna have to Jace is gonna have to turn back to where he was. Mel's gonna have to come back, and I think Janna's gonna potentially make
an appearance. Sure.
I
think the Hex Core was like, listen, we tried to do it your way. I think the Hex Core is going to be like, we tried to do it your way, and if they reverse time, I think the Hex Core is going to be like, we're going to do it my way now. And that's where I think Victor's going to kind of lose himself a little bit, is because the Hex Score is going to also like
what's going on to Jace is going to happen to Victor, and that's going to turn into Hex Core taking over Victor.
Right.
Yeah. I've seen a couple theories about who Aisha actually is. First of all, the show has created a ton of original characters. Aisha's probably Aisha. She's probably not any other character.
Yeah.
But
the only parallel is they took the design of Silco and a little bit of how like Savika looks, and I know that they originally wanted to wanted to add Silco to the game, but for some reason something happened and they had to kind of morph that character into Renata Glask.
Right, and then they put Silco into TFT.
Right. So I believe that like they could morph those characters into something else, but like I think they've done a good job of like I think Savika's sweet.
So there are characters from Zon and Piltover that are not in the game or not in the show.
Right.
But they are in the game. And the one I've seen is that Aisha grows up to be Zeri. And
that's a pull.
Right, they have a completely different hair color. Aisha is non-verbal. So Zeri definitely is not. I think Zeri is going to be Firelights. If Zeri showed up,
yeah. That makes sense. Sure.
So if she shows up, that's where she'll be. Janna, they've been mentioned but hasn't shown up.
Oriana and Blitzcrank are some of Singed's creations.
Right. So there's things in here that might not make an appearance, unfortunately. Similar to how Marvel has access to hundreds of superheroes.
And you can't drop everything at once, right? You can't drop everything at once.
Right. And there's going to be characters that you'll never see. So like, sorry to those people that like your favorite character might never make it into any sort of Arcane project.
Right.
I don't, the big question marks for me before Act 3 comes out is Black Rose, Echo and Heimer, and how are they going to wrap up that massive everything that was going on in that explosion area? Victor, Jace, Vi, Caitlyn.
Yeah.
How are they?
I think those are the two main storylines. Is the Jace Victor thing and the Vi Jinx Caitlyn trio,
which is why Oriana and the Black Rose feel like jumping off points for the next thing.
Right. And Singed is in Noxus, and the Black Rose is in Noxus, or like Singed is not in. I think didn't they have him traveling there at the end of it, like on a boat?
Yes.
Yep. Right. So like they're in Noxus, and the Black Rose, you don't know the extent of their powers. Like they could have just straight up teleported Mel the hell out of there. You know what I mean? They could be somewhere in Noxus for all we know. Like,
so I feel like they're leading us into a jumping off point of Noxus Demacia. But
sure. Or Noxus Ionia.
One of
the two. They need hex type weaponry for something.
Yeah.
And
it can't just be the Black Rose if you're just gonna have the Black Rose be 5 minutes of 2 episodes.
Yeah. There's got to be more to it.
There's got to be, otherwise that's the
and then
worst thing like
you also have you could also go into like House Dekoto in Noxus,
with
right? Like
Talon,
you got Talon and Cassiopeia. Like you got that family. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, so then if you did Noxus Demacia, then you'd have the House of Dekoto with Garen and Katarina.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. There's a lot to still do, but like they have their segues into future things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like like Scion dies.
Yeah.
But they kill Jarvan the Third, but Scion gets resurrected. You know who's perfect at figuring out how to resurrect someone? Singed. We could probably figure it out and morph him into this giant beast. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I do like that we got some references to season 1 with whatever the dude that turned into the original beast that Vander's fighting that Powder tries to help with.
Yeah.
His head was in Singed's office.
Right.
I do like that.
It was the first attempt and stuff. Like
the guy that beat up Vi in jail was the guy that was torn to shreds by Vander.
Right.
So we got some references, but for the most part, I'm so focused on what's going to happen in the future. And there's so much going on now that this show has so much to wrap your head around that it just makes it so much better than I already think it is.
Who's your favorite character so far? And then I want you to guess mine, just because I have a very niche kind of character that I like, and I'm wondering if you can guess who it is.
I mean, to be honest, my favorite character is probably Echo,
Sure.
but if I'm like right up there, I'm boring is Vi.
Sure.
Like it's Vi and
Right.
Echo are probably my favorite characters.
Sure. The main character.
Right.
I mean, so
People
right.
always say don't pick the main character because that's lame, but it's like they're the main character for a reason. Like,
Right.
Michael Scott's the funniest guy in the show because it's about him. Like Arcane is about Vi
Vi and
and
Jinx.
Jinx,
Yeah,
which
100%.
I mentioned them already. But Ella Purnell and Haley Steinfeld immerse you in this show, as
Yeah.
does Harry Lloyd with Victor. His narration is chillingly beautiful. Like I
Right.
love it, and so
Right.
like it's hard not to say all of them, but like Vi and Echo, the voice
Sure.
acting overall, just those. If I had to guess yours, you said it's a niche character.
It's not a niche character, but I have a very kind of niche character that I like. And so I'll just take a guess. I guess.
Is it the fox-eared lady?
No. No. Victor. Victor is my favorite character.
I was gonna say Victor, but I was like, I mean, that one felt like because I feel like when we talked about season 1 together, that was your favorite character.
Yeah, I like the bad person.
Yeah,
And like
villains are usually my favorite as well.
and like there's Hambone.
There's just
He's down there.
I think the villains in the show, like the biggest villains in the show so far, have been Ambessa and Silco.
Sure.
And I love
they
Silco.
make you believe. See, they do a great job of making you believe that Victor's the good guy and Jace is the bad guy.
They also do a good job of like making you think Jinx is good, but like if you go by the lore in the game, Jinx is just she's there to create destruction.
Right.
So I don't know. I loved Silco. Ambessa is so much better of a
you can hate her.
You can hate her.
Right. Yeah.
Because they haven't given us what she her reasoning for being there. We've seen her
outside of we need the weapons. We want the Hex Tech weapons.
Right. They've portrayed her as greedy, evil, bad parent. They've basically showed
it's not a good thing.
Yeah, they haven't said anything good about her besides the fact that you want her to step on you. There's nothing that they've given you that's why would I ever want to look at you and be like, maybe I could see why your reasoning. Like sometimes a really good villain can convince you that maybe they have a point. Like Samuel L. Jackson in Kingsman is always my go-to.
Sure.
Joker in the comics. There's some character, Homelander, there's some characters that a large group, Negan, a large group of the audience watches them and goes, I don't think they're the villain. Ambessa, I have a hard time believing a large group of the audience goes, she's not a villain. While a large group of the audience felt like Silco was
I mean, you can take if you most of the time with villains, if you switch the whole show or movie and you're from their perspective, everyone else is the villain.
Right.
Typically. That was the biggest thing where with Negan in The Walking Dead, if you've been following Negan from the beginning, Rick and his group are the enemies.
Right.
So
but that kind of comes with the territory of being a place called Noxus, where in Latin, Nox is darkness. Right. Noxus in I think it was Gaelic or something means evil. You're from the dark. It's whenever a character is named after Mort, Mortimus, Morty, Mort is death. If their name is Mort, there's a good chance there's something evil about them.
Sure.
So, I think I would love to root for Ambessa. Victor doesn't feel like a villain yet. Normally, I do love villains. I think Silco was probably one of my favorite characters from season 1.
Sure.
But as of right now, Echo, Vi, and then obviously all of the voice act. Haley Steinfeld, Harry Lloyd. I said it's beating a dead horse right now, but his narration, especially in the final episode of Act 2, it's chillingly beautiful. It gets into you. You feel it
Right.
all through your bones. You want to shut off all the sound around you going on. You want to put on headphones, sit in a dark room, and have him talk to you. His narration is awesome. I hope whatever happens with Arcane here, I hope Harry Lloyd gets narration jobs purely from this, because I could listen to him talk all day, whether he does an accent or not. Ugh. And it makes me want to watch Halo, because I'm pretty sure he's in Halo.
Sure. Right.
I just know I would hate that show, so I haven't. Ugh. Anyway,
if it doesn't have the loading screen from Halo 3, then I don't want it.
Yeah, if it doesn't have we don't need it. Yeah. We've gone on a long time. Sorry for rambling. We'll have a lot more cogent discussion, I'm sure, with better. I'm gonna try to put a better bullet points. Keep us a little bit more on track for the final one. But I had to nerdgasm out for this episode.
Oh yeah.
Let us know how you think. If you don't play the game, I want to hear from your perspective. If you do play League of Legends, I would love to hear from your perspective. If you play something like Wild Rift or TFT solely, I want to hear your perspective. I would love to get a wide variety. People that are obsessed with animation, because Fortiche is insanely good. People that love the voice acting side. I would love to hear comments from all of you on what are your thoughts on this show, especially if you have something negative. Normally we try to keep things positive, but it's so hard to find something negative in the show. I would love to maybe get a different view on, okay, yeah, maybe you made a good point. So let us know what you think in the comments, Twitter, or anything. Just go ahead and reach out. Let us know what you think, because I'd be very interested. God, I can't wait. It's one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. I think it's my favorite show of all time, and it's going to become one of those shows that I put on.
I was watching it, and I was messaging our group chat with you and our buddy Sam, and I was like, I just remember typing, oh shit, like I was like, and I said, this show is so good, this show is so good. It's so and good. Episode 5 of this was probably one of my favorite episodes ever, of just in general. I think episode 5 was the one where you get the Warwick fight, and you get all these other fights, the Jinx Vi fight. You just get all of everything was just great about that. So
yeah. I think I'm trying to think of anything that could make me more excited for future projects in this universe. Would probably be, X-Men for the future of the MCU.
Yeah, is probably
the most excited. Moon Knight, before that came out, was up there for me.
Sure. There's not a lot. I mean, a Fantastic Four, just because that's my favorite superhero. But
I would say if they decided to come out with a Fire Emblem series,
oh sure,
I think those are the only things that I could be more or just as excited as how this show makes me feel.
Right.
Awesome. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming by, watching, listening to us ramble and be nerds about nothing. Truly is very enjoyable. Love it to death. Thank you all so much. You all look great today.
GG.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you.